You're listening to Permission to Shine, the podcast. Stories of overcoming obstacles and finding self-empowerment with Sherisse Bisram, Inner Power Activation Leader.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 83. Now I feel like I'm going to come at a different vibe today, but always honouring all of the truth, all of the real life stuff as I always do. And yeah, it was really actually quite insightful what I'm going to say and speak on. And it's basically, I gave my online workshop this week, which went down so beautifully. And I feel like there were so many revelations and touch points that the audience had never thought of or looked at in that way, and that was just so beautiful. And I love holding that space for people. And if you want to catch the replay, I'm going to pop the link in the show notes. If you didn't get to watch it, you can get access to it there. And one of the ladies at the end, she asked me this question, and it really sparked this whole topic or conversation that I'm going to say to you now. And she said, sometimes I'm really positive, and then other times I go through where I feel like sad or a bit low, and I don't know how I, get through that part. And, what I said was, we are always going through cycles. Now, I speak on that quite a lot if you've been listening for a while. We're constantly going through cycles, whether that's our menstrual cycle, whether that's the seasons, whether it's mini seasons in our emotions. There's always something there, like a full circle, and even down to the moon's placement, right? I talk about astrology a lot, depending on what sign you are, where the moon sits. Like for me, I know that when the moon is in Scorpio, if it crosses over Scorpio, because the moon's in each sign for 2 days, that's it. Game over for me. I'm in my feels. I'm overthinking, and I'm like, where is that moon? I'm like, Scorpio, there you are, my old friend. So for me, that gives me more awareness of why these things are coming to the surface. But most importantly, I wanted to speak on it because I'm kind of in one of those cycles myself at the moment where I've kind of had the high of, preparing for my workshop, doing it, enjoying it. And then now I'm coming through to this autumn feeling, this winter feeling of processing, my emotions, how I feel. And actually, aside from the workshop, in life in general, I feel like we are all shifting where our focus is going. And revolution, evolution is so prominent, and we are in it right now, especially because we are now in the age of Aquarius where we've never been before. And as I said to you in the past, wherever Pluto touches, it goes for a mini death and rebirth. So there's always like a breaking in of what is to come. And right now, for me, it's really showing up in relationships. And these are platonic relationships as well. This is nothing to do with romance. I mean, I do believe that it's going to open the door to romance as well. But for me personally, I'm really seeing, especially the Aquarius part is the evolution, like I said, but the integrity, the humanity, the truth of a lot of things and people, and the way people are navigating spaces right now. And it's becoming very clear to me who is out of alignment, who isn't embodying what they're saying, and who isn't in integrity. Now, for me as a double Leo, loyalty runs so deeply through my veins, and that's been something I've had to really work on, especially in the work that I do now, because that obviously led me to be a people pleaser for most of my life. And now it's about finding that discernment, that balance of harmony, I want to say, because I don't like to use the word balance, because I feel like when people think of balance, I think half and half, and it's not that, right? It's the ebb and flow of, if someone isn't treating me fairly or right, I can walk away. I don't have to hold on to anyone. I don't have to save anyone. That's the massive flag. I don't have to save anyone. And a lot of people as well would give me people to save. They'd be like, oh, you're so good at this, help this person. And obviously I wasn't doing my business at the time, so I was just freely giving advice to everyone, which obviously is a lovely thing to do, but equally depleting. And this is something that I've really learned for myself, is that I have to make sure my cup's full, and I can't give if I don't have anything myself. And I really feel like this weekend I've been called to pull inwards and just come back to me. Even running a business, I feel like I'm pouring into something outside of myself, because I've been able to differentiate the fact that Sherisse is a human being and Sherisse Bisram, Inner Power Activation Leader and Intuitive Healer, is my business. So I can separate that, right? And although my integrity and my embodiment is within both, I don't have to be on all the time. And that's something that I really want to make clear to, anyone that leads from their soul or is working from their passion right now, is that you have to take time out and you have to recharge, because no one gets the best of you if you're not giving you the best, or feeling the best yourself, right? And it's about that kindness part that we really need to keep repeating over and over again, because for me, this is the divine feminine way of leading, is through honoring ourselves, our cycles. It's being empathetic to ourselves and to others, right? And at the same breath of that, I just want to say about when I'm seeing this alignment with people and situations right now, there's so much layers to that, because I don't like to judge people. I'm really, really working hard on that every day, to not judge. And I feel like that was a big part of my first stage of healing, was releasing judgment. So when I notice it comes up again, I'm like, oh, is this a me thing or them thing? And my friends always say to me, you're so self-aware. But what I want to make clear is there's a difference between self-awareness and self-criticism. And I definitely lived in self-criticism for most of my life before my healing journey. So now I have to really be careful to make sure, is this something that someone else is doing? Is this something that I'm doing? And being kind to myself if it is something that I'm doing. So then I can see if I'm criticizing myself or just being aware of a pattern. And more often than not, in every single way, it comes down to something in the past, in our own lives, or even before that. I've been speaking a lot to one of my really close friends about the sisterhood wound, and that is there. It's so prominent. And if you don't know what the sisterhood wound is, it's basically how the patriarchal systems in society turned women against each other, right? They made women see each other as competitors, as obstacles to overcome, or the bitchiness that we get told about, and that's seen all over movies. That's all the patriarchy wanting to turn women against each other. When you think back to the beginning of time, women's circles, the ancestors gathering together, that has been there through generations, right? And even down to, I mean, some of you are going to roll your eyes here, but the witches burnt at the stake, right? Same thing, And every tradition in the whole world has some form of women's circles, sacred women, medicine women, like there's some sort of either indigenous or tribal or historic space where women all came together. But the patriarchy dismantled that. And so now in modern times, there's a lot of women going out for each other, or the cattiness, the underlying judgment, and that for me is something that I have to always come back to and say, right, am I judging here? Am I criticizing anyone or anything, or myself, But what I know about myself is that in my deep loyalty and of my deep rooted humanitarianism that I have within me, is that I want everyone to win. I do want everyone to win. And where it is a kind of awkward space for me is that when I don't see people leading from their heart and from their ego instead. And, the ego is proving, is I want to be better than you, and is saying that I get there first. Whereas the soul leading is that we all get to win. When I win, you win. I help you up. I support you. I'm going to carry you with me. That's the soul leading. And again, you're not taking people that aren't going to put the work in or aren't supporting you, but there is an element of, let me show you the way, right? And I feel like that is being warped right now into so many different levels. There's so much to unpack around that with womanhood, and even down to like women still being in their masculine. If when you watch my online workshop, if you haven't yet, I talk a lot about how we're using bro marketing and those showboat tactics to try and call in other women to our energy space. And it's quite funny actually, because I comment and like on my social media what I believe to be true, right? So as in like if I like something you're wearing, I will tell you. If I think that that looks really fun, what was it? And I message you about it, I'm being honest, right? I don't have a lot of time in the day. So if I see something I like and enjoy it, I'm going to tell you, right? And this goes for across the board. If I'm out on a night out and I see someone, even in a day out, and I see someone looking fabulous, I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, you look amazing. You know, like that's just who I am. And this is where for me, I feel like I'm so aware, you know, of the way that I come across in this space, but I'm aware of the fact that this gets to be tactical for a lot of people, you know, like people, it's almost like Mean Girls. That's the way I was thinking about it last night. I was like, what I'm seeing now in the outside space is the Mean Girl energy, you know, like there's like a group of people that are cliquey, and if you're not in the clique, you feel outside and isolated, and then everyone else is trying to get into the clique, and if you're not doing that, then you're not cool. And I'm just seeing that repeat itself just subtly in like different areas, especially in business. And my thing is that I don't abide to that. You know, I will be the odd one out the whole way through if I have to be. And I think this also stems from watching Wicked again, because I love Wicked. I watched the musical twice in London over the course of my teenage years. Obviously, I was a dancer, so I danced to the songs lots and things like that. And I'd never been a massive musical theatre fan, but certain musicals I love, and Wicked was one of them. And the first time I watched with my niece, and she was talking the whole way through, as most 7-year-olds do, right? And then because I told her I might cry, she was looking at me every time I watched it with her to be like, "Are you crying yet?" And I was like, and I had to just say to her straight up in her face, I was like, look, if I cry, that's okay. You know, we should all embrace crying. It's okay to cry. And then she was like, yeah, it is okay to cry, isn't it? I said, yes, it is okay to cry. But I didn't end up crying because obviously I wasn't absorbing the film. Whereas the second time I watched it with my mum, it was really beautiful. We were both absolutely silent and just taking it in the whole time. And she actually said to me, because she's seen the musical, she took me once and then she went again a few times with her friends. But she said to me, Elphaba reminds me of you, and Galindo reminds me of one of your friends that you grew up with at school. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, that makes so much sense to me. And I feel like I'd always connected with Elphaba, especially Cynthia and Revo playing that role, you know, being a woman of colour. That's an extra layer that I really resonate with. And that bit where she's falling down the building and her little self is it reflecting back to her. If you haven't seen it, I'm sorry, that was a spoiler. But like I was like, I really saw myself in all of those layers in everything that I am and I do. Is like I'm thinking about that younger version of me, and almost now, you know, like watching Wicked, seeing that relationship dynamic, and then in the outside world seeing it too. I'm like, this is all correlating in such a deep way, and this is how the universe works, right? Everything adds up, all the signs add up, and it's like, well, what are you going to do about this then? And again, it's not for me to do anything necessarily, but the awareness is everything in this time, right? And I think that everything I do and everything that I'm seeing, I'm just being called to call it out and to say what needs to be said in order for us to make that discernment, to look through what we are seeing in front of us all of the time, right? Because, you know, when I did watch Wicked and that came up with the old friends and the things like that, I was also then shining a light on my younger self and thinking about all the times I'd pushed her too hard, and, you know, all the times I told her she wasn't good enough, you know, and I wrote a whole list of things that I was apologizing to myself for that night when I watched Wicked, because I was like, this needs to be let go of now. Like I need to say my piece to my younger self and know that it's okay, I didn't know any better, right? And then that gets to rest. And then this all kind of ties into the whole purpose of me writing a book as well, because it's cathartic, you know, and it's hard. Every time I type or write something from my childhood, another layer of me comes to the surface and I have to process and release it. And this is what I want to keep reminding you of, is that this is the process of healing. It's always cycles. You're always going to keep coming to a similar part or something that you know of, or, you know, and especially, you know, if you're going into a romantic relationship, the relationship you had with your parents is going to play such a role in that, let alone any other ex you've had in that meantime, right? And I think that's just giving you an example of how that might look in your life. I've not really been there too much, but I know that that is possible for me, and it has shown actually when I was dating like previously last year. And I think I'm just shining a light on these things because there might be things that you're subconsciously feeling and you can't really put a word to it, right? And even today, I messaged one of my friends last night, just telling her, kind of giving her a debrief of these feelings and emotions that I'm talking about. And she said it there. She just literally said the same thing. She was like, it's, your sisterhood, you're so loyal, and also you live in integrity and other people don't. She was like, your truth, and that's it. And I was like, yeah. And actually, the beautiful space about now is that I don't have to prove anything to anyone. I don't have to wave a big flag to be like, I'm a really good person. I do this because I love people and I want to help. I don't have to do that. But it's important to talk on it because this could look so different for you in your life, but you might be listening to it thinking, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, in some form of a capacity. But I have actually written a blog about with a section from my book, and it is literally just kind of giving you an overview of the first chapter, the introduction. So if anyone wants to read that again, I'll pop it onto the show notes because it's such a beautiful space to be in, to be able to process, feel, and ultimately heal again, deeper and deeper. And that's really the journey, is that every time we move through something. And there's a book called The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz, and he talks about how we are all walking around with scars, right? We're all walking around with, wounds. And every time something touches the wound, that's when we get triggered. And we want to pull back, we want to run, but the beauty of this now being triggered is that we have to heal it. So now it's sore and the cut's open. It's like, okay, well, what can you put on that's going to help it to heal? Maybe it's just a bit of aloe vera, for example, and you're just giving it that nurturing time and energy and saying, I see you. I can see you're there. I feel you. We're going to work through this and it's going to go. And then that wound soon becomes a scar. And that's the beautiful thing about life, is that, and what I'd say, but even about myself, is that wounded healer. That was something that used to come up for me all of the time. And I don't feel wounded anymore. There's times, don't get me wrong, where I feel, um, I don't know what the right word is. I guess I reflect back and I feel compassion for my younger self. And it makes me sad to think about all of the things she went through that she couldn't express. And the weight of everything she was carrying that she shouldn't have carried at that age. Like there's moments like that where I think about it. And I guess, for me, it's otherness. I think always, I speak on this a lot about how I've never really fit in. And sometimes when you are, trailblazing, as I'm hoping that I'm doing, being this person that is an advocate for other women and girls and standing in my truth and owning it, is that when other people don't do that too, that's when it creates a divide. But at the same time, it's like understanding and knowing that I don't have to do it how everyone else is doing it. You don't have to do it how everyone else is doing it. You have to do it like you. And that's always been my kind of ethos in this process now, is that like, I'm just going to own who I am. I'm just going to speak what I need to say from my heart. And I know the right people will listen and resonate with this. And that could be across any board or any industry or whatever that looks like to you. It's like, yes, there could be thousands of people doing it this way. Everyone could be going right and you're like, I'm going to go left. And there's no right or wrong in that. If you want to go right too, go right too. It just has to be your choice. Because I think this is the thing with society and life, is that so many of us are being steered by external forces and we don't even realize. And it's beautiful to be inspired, it really is. But when you're being dragged, I think that's the difference. And that for me there is kind of the whole ethos of, when I say become an iconic leader, that's actually what I mean. It's like you're leading yourself to make the choices that are in alignment with you. And I even was thinking about this last night. I randomly get like little downloads of nuggets of content, or whatever it is I feel like I need to say, and there's a lot of people that are especially in my industry, but also influencers, right? Outside of this, or you could be, if you think about a boss at work, whatever it is, they want to be a leader so you can look up to them. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be someone people look up to. I want to be someone that people look beside to. I want people to see that I've been in the trenches too, and I'm here with you. We're all working through this. We're all doing this together. And that's so important to me. You don't need to look up to me because I'm not higher than you are. I'm not, And I think anyone that's preaching that they are, above you, that's just hierarchy and patriarchy again, And someone said something so beautiful the other day is that patriarchy is a triangle structure and matriarchy is a circle. And I was like, gosh, isn't that beautiful? That again, coming back to that sister circle, that integration of all of us together. And it's so important that we are, just being open to love, to receive, to give, all of these things interconnect with us. And ultimately, I believe that that circle represents wholeness of ourselves too. And that really is this space. And I said it the other day about the divine union, of all of your energies, your divine masculine, your divine feminine, but also like how we move through life, action, being, doing, everything is that fullness, that wholeness. But only you can choose when you live through that space. And when you do live through that space, or at least you are consciously choosing to be in that space every day, like one thing that you're doing towards being that, one thought, anything that you're kind of co-creating in your life for, in this space of wholeness, that's when you are being a leader, right? And it's just so important that I just remind you of that, because I think a lot of women that I speak to feel like they're so far away from where they need to get to. And don't get me wrong, I also have those same thoughts, right? I think about all the girls I went to school with and have settled down with their families and like, having kids, they've got the white picket fence life. And there are times where I look at that and think, gosh, is that going to happen for me too? And of course it is, because I want it, right? I want that too. But I also want to be an advocate for women. I want my voice to be heard. So I give other women the permission to allow their voice to be heard too. And I didn't allow myself to want all of it before. And I do now. And so I know and trust that the universe is going to conspire that in my favor because of it, So I feel like this was quite a vulnerable episode. But again, I like to be this open and honest with you all, because I feel like sometimes we feel like we're going through it alone, and you're not. You are not. I am so rooted in feeling confident in every part of myself. So even on my down days, there is no part of me that feels like I'm not good enough. There is no part of me questioning my worth. But there are little things I am questioning in the meantime, and that is so normal. And that is actually beautifully human. Because if you weren't doing that, that means you're living in your ego because you think everything's amazing and perfect about you all the time, right? And no one wants to be that person. No one wants to be like, look how amazing I am all the time, right? Even I don't feel like that way about myself. I'm like, I feel amazing, so I'm going to show up, right? But I'm not like, look at me, I'm amazing. That's a very different level. And, we only perceive things as we feel them. And that's something that goes with our learning, our growing, and our healing, but it's all interconnected, So I just want to say, like, honor the shadow, because it's in the shadow where you find your light and the permission to shine, and all of those things that this podcast really stands for, and everything I do stands for. So yes, I also want to say that I've just started writing for Brains magazine online. So the article that I've got is in the link in my show notes as well, so you can have a read of that if you fancy it, and then also online workshops in the notes, and my blog with my excerpt of my book, which I'm really excited to share with you all, so that's all there. And also I will be opening up some spaces to work with me on a one-to-one basis for either 6 months or a year, depending on where you're at in your life right now. And this is really for the woman that is ready for that sacred partnership. If you're looking for a friend to hold your hand, to listen, to support you, this is really that space. And I feel like mentorship gets so thrown around in different ways, but this for me really is such a beautiful journey where I'm available for calls 3 times a month, as well as just unlimited support via voice note and text. And I think that is such a valuable thing that I know that I needed at the beginning of my journey with business and with life. And that's what my first mentor gave to me, was that option. And it was so lovely to be in that space. So I just want to present that to you in case anyone's thinking, oh gosh, I really feel alone right now. This is that opportunity to really have just someone that loves you in your corner, that is platonic and isn't related to you, just to say you got this, girl, and all of the amazing healing things that we will do in that time and space. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it here. I hope you have a really beautiful week. I have some really amazing guests coming up over the next few weeks. So really stay tuned. Make sure you're following the podcast so it comes up when a new episode comes and all the things. And if you haven't rated the podcast yet or left a review, please do, because it really helps push the podcast out. Again, this is something I do just because I enjoy sharing my wisdom. So anytime it gets reached to more people, it just makes a massive difference for me. So yes, I'm sending you so much love and wishing you a really beautiful week.
If this episode resonated with you, please do like, follow and share with someone that you know would benefit. If you're looking to dive in deeper to becoming your most unapologetic, most authentic, shining self, please do head to my website and join my newsletter, where you will find out about all of my upcoming events and speaking opportunities and all of the things that I have going on. And also, if you would like to work with me, please do drop me a DM on any of my socials or through my website. Love and light.